I want to start this review off by saying I'm not as enlightened with PvZ3 as I could be. I didn't touch the Chinese version, which I've heard is actually a lot better. I didn't play the last couple of betas because this game, it sucks. It doesn't even have Snoopy anymore. What the heck? What are they thinking? What I did do, though, was I played the actual game, and I have a handful of thoughts on it, with the biggest one that came to my mind being that I was actually a really big fan of the level design in this one. Maybe that's a controversial take, I don't know. I mean, the 50% rule I would prefer if it was a bit better. There were times when I obviously wasn't doing anything. That's still a bit of an issue with no zombies spawning at a certain point. And early on, it felt like the levels were honestly a few too many zombies, and I had to push a bit too much to get guys on the board. There's a few little issues, but honestly, at its core, this is a really fun game. There were several times that I was actually having a good amount of fun with the level progression. Especially in Lawn Patrol, when there was the right amount of difficulty, which is a good amount of difficulty. I always like a challenge, usually if they were a few levels ahead of me. I had an amazing time with the game. It was a good challenge, and fusions are an inherently interesting mechanic. I'm probably a bit biased here because I haven't actually played PvZ Fusion, but it was a very unique mechanic. There was a lot of strategy to it, like healing your walnuts by making them peanuts. It was a neat mechanic, and I had a good amount of fun with it, even with the tutorial plants and a handful of other things wrong with the game that I'll get into. At its core, this is a really enjoyable game. But I wasn't really that motivated to continue Adventure Mode specifically. I had more fun with Lawn Patrol. It just felt like Adventure Mode, there wasn't a great reason to continue. At the beginning even, which is weird because that's when they were giving out like the free plants, and I feel like on the screen where they give out all the levels like in a grid, if you haven't beaten the levels yet, they should like put on those levels what you'll unlock for beating it, like what plants you'll unlock. And I also think that generally they should be unlocking more plants in the adventure mode, because not just so I can get more plants besides the tutorial ones, don't worry, I'll get to that, but also because it just makes going through adventure mode more interesting. You can introduce zombies that are countered by those plants, just like the other two games did, instead of doing some sort of grinding system for it. Again, we'll get to that. But otherwise, I just feel like it would help a lot for these rewards to be more obvious, like before you reach those levels, because otherwise, there's not really that much reason to continue playing through adventure mode. I'd enjoy if more plants got unlocked through adventure mode, and also 5 slots I just don't think is enough for this game. It's fine now where we have like 12-ish base plants to work with. I don't know the exact amount, but like, as the game grows, it's just gonna be way too small. It already doesn't feel like enough sometimes with certain Lawn Patrol levels, but in general, I would very much prefer it to be like 7, PvZ2 style. But in general, at its core, I had a good time with this game. There's a few little things that I could bring up to pile on a list of all the things wrong with this game, but I don't really think that's a fair way to look at it, because it's not fully released yet, and also that's just not entirely how I like looking at media. And I had a good time with the levels and the stuff in this game, and I feel like it could be a game that I see myself enjoying playing on my phone while I'm wallflowering at a party or something. But there are 2 really, really big issues with this game that I think need to be resolved, because they prevented me from having a good experience with this game. Adventure mode, I didn't feel motivated to continue, but other areas that would have otherwise been good were especially hurt for 2 reasons. And let's get the first one out of the way immediately. Progression right now, like how you unlock plants, absolutely terrible. It is almost impossible to get anything past like the initial tutorial plants. And Solar Pea, I guess, because it's a sun-producing plant and you get a handful of pea shooting seeds from. There was like some quest where you had to harvest tier 3 plants, so I harvested a bunch of Gatling peas and ended up getting Solar Pea that way. Otherwise, you're not getting it through any means besides grinding the Zen Garden. And the Zen Garden is terrible. It does it really slowly, and the fact that it's the only method to get these plants unlocked is just insane to me. Because it means you're not getting, like, any of them unlocked. You get, like, let me math this out. 11 hearts, which is 22 seed slots a day. Assuming you have the gems to burn. At best, you're getting 22 seed slots. You need like 40 for a tier 1 plant. And that's the max amount of grinding you can do. And the leveling system isn't great either, because the shards are so difficult to get, because there's only one real source of it right now, which is Lawn Patrol. In general, it's so hard to build stuff up right now. And the leveling, I don't really care about as much. I don't like it, but like, if I couldn't level up my plants, if that was a challenge, that would not be the biggest deal for me. What really sucks is, this is the evolutions game. Why can't I unlock, like, any of the actual evolutions? There are so many that I'm really interested in, but I had to invest in getting Peanut to see Ghost Pepper, and then I'm gonna invest in a couple of ice plants, and otherwise, I don't know. I feel like unlocking fusions, I get why they did it. It, again, allows for progression, which can be interesting, but they made it so difficult to actually get fusions, to the point where the fusion thing is barely even a part of the gameplay right now. Since really it only makes plants stronger, or Peanut. That's the only other real actual evolution plant in this game. I honestly do think this is going to be remedied in the future though, which is a plus. I really don't see them keeping it this difficult to get, again, the evolutions in the evolution game. There's no world where they keep it that difficult to have to get those plants. It's so grindy, and even if you do every single step and push as hard as you can, I have tried, you're not going to be able to get any of the stuff you need without just logging in every day, I guess, which is not a good system, and I expect them to fix it, honestly. I bring it up and say it's the obvious thing, because there's just very little way it stays that way. They should probably add some seeds to adventure mode. Like I said earlier, you should be able to unlock fusions throughout adventure mode. I would adore a system where some of the more simple evolutions get unlocked during adventure mode, and then you have like rarer ones that you need to do some grinding for that are more powerful. It would be the best of both worlds. They get to make money, we get to grind, and we still get a bunch of interesting fusions. I think that is fixable, and I expect them to fix it. That is not my biggest problem with the game, surprisingly. Because, like I said, even with tutorial plants, I had a good time with this game. The big issue that I think made my experience significantly worse is the zombie leveling system. Zombies getting stronger, solely like just leveling up as the game progresses, is such an unfun system for so many reasons. Like, I get it. Many games, many mobile games have done things where the zombies level up as you level up. Or the enemies, whatever. And it's not an uncommon system, but it does not work for this game at all. Because it basically just necessitates leveling up your own plants. And that is such a boring thing to do in terms of strategy. I enjoy the kinds of challenge where you have to think. But when it gets to a certain point where the zombies are just way too strong to ever beat, there is no way to get past them besides just leveling up plants. And that's not strategic. That's just grindy. And PvZ 2 did it, and I hated it there too. But at least there, other than Penny's Pursuit, which honestly, by the time that was introduced, the plants were so overpowered you didn't even need to level. It was just plant leveling, which you could choose not to do. With zombie leveling, if you don't level up your plants, you die, and if you level up your plants, it's very binary gameplay. It's just have plants that are high enough level, and then bam, you sweep through everything. It's not a challenge. There's no strategy. I preferred, like, what is much better is to have blatantly overpowered zombies at base level. I would much prefer that over these basic zombies just scaling up in difficulty, because that doesn't allow for any kind of strategy. All that is just, these zombies are too strong, level up your plants to beat them. There's no strategy in that. For some games it works. I play stuff like Clash Royale, where at the very least you can get stuff done if you're underleveled. You can't here. And that's before even, obviously, it's hard to even level up your plants in this game, because shards are so hard to come across. Usually people just like upgrade their cabbage pulse and pea shooters to max. But when, say, more zombies and more plants get introduced in the expanded version of the game, that is going to become a huge task. And I don't even care about that. I just care that there's no strategy to it. The zombies will eventually get so strong that you need leveled up plants in order to beat them, and you just don't have access to any sort of interesting strategy besides, okay, I guess I'm leveling up my plants to match the zombies. Difficulty escalation is a challenge. I don't just diss the system to diss it and say I don't like it. I'm interested in getting into game development, and this is a very big issue in a lot of games that I see. But the thing they chose here was absolutely the worst. I get it. They want to have plants leveling because it makes money, and I guess every game has to do it now. I thought that it was enough to have plants be introduced throughout adventure, and that's all the motivation players need. It used to be all the motivation they needed, but I guess not. But I get that they want to have plants leveling, and if you don't have zombies leveling up with them, then it can be like the players will be incredibly overpowered, like they are in PvZ 2. But this is just inherently going to cause issues that I think will be more pronounced as the game's lifespan goes on. I think a lot of the issues with it will get better, like adventure not being as interesting in some points and feeling repetitive will get better as the game expands. I think the game releasing soon will be a benefit, and will allow for a lot of good changes to be made. But the issue with zombie leveling, I'm worried they're going to keep it, and it's such a negative for the game. It's going to allow for no strategy, because all it motivates is just leveling up your plants. That's it. And that is not what makes a good PvZ game at all. Because there won't be any levels with challenge in them, because anytime there's a slight challenge, you can just throw leveling up at them. There are so many things wrong with it. I could legitimately rant about it for hours. There's so many things wrong with a system that just, you can level up plants, and that's all you have to do. It removes the strategic element from this game, and unlike PvZ 2, it's forced upon you now. I saw two ways that they could fix this, while still giving players something to look forward to in terms of motivation, because that's the goal, to make them push towards something and keep playing the game. The first is to remove zombie leveling, and also remove plant leveling, and just make progression more interesting in adventure mode in general. Unlocking fusions, again, I think is interesting enough to keep players plenty engaged. But if they don't want to go that route, then just make leveling more focused on gaining new abilities. Like, obviously the abilities right now aren't very interesting, but if they were, then you can make leveling up your plants significantly more difficult to do in order to compensate, but you could just make leveling so they unlock more interesting abilities, especially the later tier fusions. I think you could do a lot with that. Make the leveling so that way they're not getting more powerful, but you feel like you're unlocking neat mechanics that you could do a lot with. it's almost kind of making new fusions of its own, I guess. And in general, I just don't think leveling is necessary at all. But if they really want to push it, because maybe it makes money or something, just don't make it necessary. Make it create interesting gimmicks that you can unlock using your currencies or whatever. Make it neat abilities that upgrade the way you play the game and make more interesting strategies. I just think zombie leveling inherently discourages strategy because you just end up leveling up your plants to match it, and often going above that. It's such a bad gimmick. Otherwise, I think this game is set up to be really fun. Again, I had a good time playing this game. When my levels were like 3 levels below the zombie ones, it was an interesting challenge. But there are so many better ways that could increase the difficulty. Again, by just sending out more overpowered zombies to match the more overpowered fusions is not a bad system. It is a good system, I think, because it increases the difficulty in accordance to what you've got. And maybe some issue will pop up that maybe there's some big, strong zombie that gets introduced and players have to grind for a new plant to counter it. But I would take that any day of the week over just no strategy whatsoever. That is the big thing that I think would kill this game. And what scares me is I think there's a solid chance they keep it. And that would just ruin the game, I think. It's the biggest problem with it, hence why I took up the bulk of this video. Overall, at its core, this is a great game. And I think by removing zombie leveling one way or another, and improving the progression, I could have a lot of fun with this game. Tiny little tweaks here and there, maybe, but it would be a fun game. But those two things really stopped me from having a good experience with this game. It's a soft launch. I'm really hoping that those two things do not stay, and I know the progression isn't going to, because it's so obviously unfinished, but the zombie leveling, I'm worried is going to stay, and if it does, I'll tell you now, I'm not going to play the game much. It's just not gonna be fun. That's honestly all from me. Again, I liked this game. This was fun. I had a good time. Especially when the difficulty was balanced, which there are so many better ways to do besides the leveling. I had a great time with it. The game at its core is fun. They just need to fix the progression and obliterate the zombie leveling. That is an inherently terrible system. And that's all for this video. It was another one of my just kind of long ranty ones, which I kind of wore out with Replanted as well, but in general, I really want to see this game succeed. I'm generally more positive about it than I've seen a lot of other people be, but the few things just need to be removed, and this is a great game. Otherwise, I plan to cover this more in the future eventually. There's a lot more videos that I'm working on getting out, I promise. And with that all said, I hope to see you soon, and goodbye.